Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi there, coward.
You are now listening to Retro Radio.
Smiles, everyone, smiles. I am Mr. Monroe, your host. Welcome to Retro Radio, your weekly online real player source for classic arcade game news and information. Okay, so I'm a Fantasy Island fan, both old and new. For those of you who may have missed the classic 80s show Reincarnation on ABC on Saturday nights at 9, Malcolm McDowell has taken over the role of Mr. Rourke. Alas, there is no tattoo, but we do have a tight-bodied shapeshifter and the producer of Men in Black at the helm. What else do you want? Why the Fantasy Island intro? Well, this week we're going to talk about retro gaming in general, mainly the legality behind the scene. I think there's a lot of folks out there that have questions about the legalities of the scene, and I'd like to share my own insights and feelings with all my listeners. Maybe I can vocalize what we all feel. Let's address the whole copyright issue. Since I joined the emulation scene, there's been a lot of talk and even some threats with regards to the violation of copyright laws, mainly from the IDSA, the Interactive Digital Software Association, who apparently represents dozens of software developers, including Sega and Nintendo, two hot gaming companies. Some websites have been encouraged to shut down. Even the Mighty Dave's Classics have been broached by a Nintendo representative telling them to remove NES cartridge ROMs. So what's the real story? Is emulation legal? First, let's put it this way. Emulation, an emulator, MAME, RetroCade, they are 100% legal. You are in no violation by owning or running RetroCade or MAME. Now, the ROMs, that's another story. Let me tell you a story. You go down to Camelot Music. You pick up the latest Irish Rover CD. Knowing full well you don't have a CD player in the car, you dupe a copy to cassette tape, allowing you to jam out to the Scottish sound as you drive. Congratulations, you just committed copyright infringement. Yep, you're in the exact same boat as your PlayStation CD copying buddy that lives down the road, or Mr. Smith across the way that dupes every videotape he rents. And don't forget that copy of Windows 95 your mom loaned to your uncle so he could install it on his machine without buying it. Yes, casual piracy is rampant in today's society. Did you know that if your company plays the radio publicly over some speakers in your office that they are in violation of the copyright law? Technically, it's illegal rebroadcasting, which falls under the same law. That is why when you grocery shop at Safeway, you get all the nasty-ass music. They paid to have the royalties to rebroadcast that music. Chances are you personally or someone close to you breaks the copyright law every single day. Even something as harmless as giving your best friend a boot disc to help him recover his system is technically breaking the law. Now that you know, will this affect your life? Will the FBI come knocking at your door tomorrow? Of course not. Why? Because these are the little fries. These are the little fries in the big McDonald's supersized fry box. Okay? The FBI is much more concerned with the dude in Tijuana mass-producing bootlegs of Office 97. Which brings up my entire point. Letter of the law versus intent of the law. Copyright laws were originally intended to protect intellectual property against others that would use it for monetary gain. Keep you from copying your favorite CD and selling bootlegs to the public, that sort of thing. The letter of the law says that there are a lot of illegal activities. Duping your own music CD, your own CD that you bought, you paid for, so that you can have the convenience of listening it in the car, for example. We all know that this is not the intent of the law. Your actions are not causing the music company any lost revenue, yet it is illegal. Now let's apply this intent versus letter to arcade game emulation. Is Tron making Bally Midway any more money? Are you taking valuable dollars from Nintendo by playing Donkey Kong on your PC? What about Atari, now known as Hasbro? Their money's on Centipede 3D, which we all know will fail just like Frogger 3D did. And they've said several times that they aren't upset or even litigious with the distribution of their classic game ROMs. We're looking it over and we'll take a standoffish approach. Yeah, great. That's exactly what they should do. They're not losing any dollars. Other companies like Sega have actually mentioned, off the record of course, that they think Sega Genesis emulation is, quote, cool. Then you have Nintendo, the evil demon of emulation. Well, who could it be? Could it be maybe Nintendo? They have openly attacked emulation on more fronts than one. And so is Telecom. A manufacturer of ColecoVision games has recently threatened to shut down sites. ColecoVision, for God's sakes. If there's anyone going to try to tell me that there's a financial market for the ColecoVision, I'll openly laugh on their face. I'll even broadcast it here. Now, I'm not condoning piracy of legitimate revenue-generating code, like Neo Geo, PlayStation, Nintendo 64, ROMs, and images. You might as well be holding these companies at gunpoint and taking cash from their payroll if you pirate this stuff. But what about Astro Fighter, Two Tigers, Zookeepers, Axon, Jackal? Does anyone actually think that these forms of intellectual property are worth fighting for? Obviously not, since I've not heard a single story of a site op offering these dated ROMs to be taken to court, prosecuted for distribution. Oh, sure, lots of threatening letters and such, but no court cases. Never anything in the news. If you guys have one, feel free to email it to me at webmaster@monroeworld.com, and I will happily talk about it here on the air. So what about the alternative? Is there a middle ground? Sure. Get off of our asses, get off of your own, and give us an alternative. Sell us a license to use your ROM. Make a buck. That is why you're all bitching, right? Classic emulation is threatening to turn a buck at your expense. Well, guess what? Nobody's making money off the classic emulation scene. Hello, McFly, hello. Sure, some sites have banners out the ass, making a few measly bucks off the traffic. But where's the money going? They're sinking it back into high-speed connections, bandwidth, storage space. Can you imagine for a minute the amount of traffic that Dave's Classics gets hit on in a day? How much storage space he must use. He's got mirrors everywhere trying to suck up the load. What I'm basically seeing here, let me see if I got this right, are companies who are pissing and whining copyright infringement for the sole purpose to make money on a market that was created and nurtured by the concept of free sharing and the something-for-nothing concept. These companies are going to find out is that people won't pay to play. Certainly not ridiculous prices like $49 for 5 emulated games, and the Japanese ROMs nonetheless, Microsoft. Hell, even the $9 bargain bin Williams Arcade Pack didn't make it, which I bought, by the way, so I do have some legalities to I can play that Sinistar, buddy. The Namco classics on PlayStation seem to be doing okay, but let's face it. The only reason there is a scene is because it's free. Tighten your fists, shut down the EMU authors and the ROM site distribution, and you will find yourself in the same position you were in before the hoopla. Maybe even worse, because you're going to piss off a lot of people on the way to glory. Customers that might have bought. You know, go around, look at some of the big sites. Look for the boycott Nintendo symbol on web pages. They're all over the place. Why? Because Nintendo, keeping track of your intellectual property. This is the part that cracked me up. I did an interview for a newspaper, and they had contacted Nintendo. And Nintendo was like, well, we need to protect Mario and Donkey Kong, or the symbol, the gorilla. We need to protect those because those are our intellectual properties. Well, wait a minute. What on earth does protecting Mario have to do with me playing Donkey Kong? They're writing on the coattails of intellectual properties, when in reality, what they wanted is, oh, there's a market for Donkey Kong, huh? Well, hey, let's get the guys down in development to throw together a classic Nintendo's. I guarantee that there's a classic Nintendo package coming. You've already seen it. They've already written Donkey Kong for the Game Boy. $99? $99 for a $39 Game Boy. I'm missing something. Do people actually buy this stuff? Let me give you a suggestion. This is for all the big companies who might be listening. Sell the ROMs online. Okay? Now check this out. Listen, just follow with me. No overhead. No big startup costs. Set up a web page. Hire me. I'm a professional. I'll do it. To offer your visitors the opportunity to legally play these games for, say, 50 cents a piece. Hell, I'll even do the math for you. Let's say that there are 100,000 active emulation players. There's a lot more, but let's just take that number as a random. Let's just round it off. And you offer, say, 50 ROMs. And everybody buys half. Just so you follow the math, we're at $25 per person who visits. Whoa, $2.5 million on a market that's already there. Everybody I talked to, bar none, has said that if the ROMs were available and they were cheap, they'd pay for them. That's amazing. Why are you guys paying the IDSA all this money, and you know it's got to be a lot, to run down all these poor little guys who are running GeoCity pages, okay, pay them all this money when you could be making money, looking like the good guy, and giving the public what they want? You, the scene, and most importantly, the customer will all win. Well, now that I've gotten on my soapbox rant, this is kind of where my notes run off, so I guess I'm going to have to kind of wing it from here. For the rest of the show, I'd like to talk about why is retro gaming so popular? Where did it come from? It's not because the age group, I mean, that's late 20-something, early 30-something people. You know, most of us have grown up with computers, and maybe that in itself promotes the idea of classic gaming. Now, most of the people I talk to, they have a past with computers or video game consoles. Atari 2600, C64, right? Maybe an Amiga in the past. And what made these games fun? We've got Half-Life, we've got Unreal, we've got games pushing millions and billions of polygons on the screen. At the same time, these games are popular. Beachhead 2 on the C64 was a bestseller. Beachhead 2 was running on 38K of RAM, a special chip on a $99 computer. What made it popular? It's obviously not the 30 billion pixels tri-filtering anti-aliasing that's going on in today's hot 3D games, which I still haven't figured out what the draw is, except for like Unreal. That's kind of cool, especially if you got a good video card. But the bottom line is they had to produce more for less. What did the original Atari 2600 cartridges have? What, like 1.5K? 1.5K. You could fit like 500 Atari cartridges on a floppy disk. More than that. I'm not going to do the math. But you could fit all those on a single floppy disk. Do you think that would be of any interest today? Well, obviously. We've got Stella. We've got PC Atari. We've got tons of Atari 2600 emulators. Why? Because Adventure was a damn cool game. All right. So it looks like a bad software render job on Unreal. You walk up to the wall and it's all blocks. That's what Adventure looks like. But it's fun. Look at Beachhead 2, one of the very first games that actually had speech. Yeah, speech is no big deal. Now we've got huge 5-minute cutscenes between levels, so no big deal. But back then, to see that poor little C64 shelling out, "I'm hit, medic," you know, that, or screaming when the guy in Impossible Mission fell in the hole. Hell, that took up hours of my time. I just sat there and kept walking the guy in the hole so I could hear him scream on the way down. I'm not the only one, folks. Everyone's sitting back there going, "Hey, I did that." I know. Archon. Have they ever made a good version of Archon? If you say Archon Ultra, you lose an arm, okay? Archon Ultra was crap. It was like, what, EGA? Yeah. PC shouldn't have even got into gaming until they had 3D cards. But Archon was like the best. I just fired up the new 64 emulator and played Archon. My wife's sitting there going, "Boy, does that ever suck." I'm going, "You don't know. You don't understand. Watch as this poor little unicorn whoops the living crap out of this sorceress." Bang. And you're all sitting there at home going, yeah, I get it. That's why you're in the arcade and that's why you're listening to this show. Because you find that gameplay is more important than graphics, more important than sound. You know, you could turn the sound off. Oh, well, you can't turn it off like Rastan. I mean, you have to have the music for Rastan. It's not the same game. Or the cheesy speech in Gorf. You know, thanks to that AstroCade chip getting emulated, now they can hear Gorf yell at you. You know, Space Cadet, yeah, whatever. But the bottom line, the bottom of the truth is these games were fun. They didn't rely on cutscenes. They didn't rely on the greatest breathtaking Voodoo 2 Rush chipset to provide you with entertainment. Anybody play Hover Bubber? That stupid game? It was Jeff Minter game, and he was probably the 8-bit stallion. You ran around mowing this lawn. That was what you did. You stole the lawnmower from your neighbor. The neighbor's out to get you. The dog wants to piss on your lawnmower. You're walking around cutting the grass. That was the game. It was fun. You know how many hours I wasted playing Hover Bubber? It's not, no multiplayer death matches in Hover Bubber. Sorry, so I guess we're not going to be playing that tonight. Anyway, sorry, had to get off on the tangent there. Retro gaming is popular because it shows a simpler age. Everybody loves the age that they were in high school. I went to high school in the 80s, so I love the music. I love the atmosphere. I love the clothes. Well, maybe not the parachute pants, but that was a fluke. How long did that last? But the music, the movies, everything about the 80s just kicked ass. That goes for the games, too. You don't find a game like Zookeeper now in the arcade. Let's see, Tekken 37 right next to Mortal Kombat 6, right next to Killer Instinct 2, right next to... You get the idea. Every now and then you see a pinball machine. They're still around. They've got a following. Those are the guys that don't even play Space Invaders. They just play pinball. You know, they're the ones who listen to The Who. Tommy Band. Classic arcade gaming isn't a fad. It's not a trendy thing. Classic arcade gamers have been around forever. The same people that have been trying to get the C64 emulator to play Legacy of the Ancients, the same people who are still trying to run down that last porno cartridge for the Atari 2600, it's people with a passion for gaming, you know? The people who play games today don't have a passion. You can tell. Watch them come into our chat channel whining and bitching that their Neo Geo games don't work. How come it doesn't work? These guys don't have a passion for games. They're looking for something for nothing. They're looking to play games for free, and that's it. You know, they're not interested in recording making a 3 million point jump in Zookeeper. They're not interested in showing you how to do the secret power-up in Jackal. Oh, I need Metal Slug, man. Come on, hook me up with those ROMs. No. I'm not trying to generalize. God knows I get enough hate mail about that. I'm just saying that seems to be the way it is. The people who play classic games, people who have the heart into it, people who enjoy it, the people who are always looking to relive that one experience. How many people played Forbidden Forest on the C64? When I got that, I must have been like 14 years old. Me and my best friend bought it on tape. We went running home, and we slept in shifts. When we first booted it up, it's like, oh, the music. Da, 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 da. You know what I'm talking about. The music came up. The dragon came flying in. And you look at it now, and you're going, ooh, 2600 graphics. But it was captivating. We played all weekend. I slept while he played, then he slept while I played. We did the same thing with Load Runner on cartridge for the 64. Plugged that bad boy in. We were up all weekend long. I'd sleep. He'd build levels. I'd let him go to sleep. I'd play his levels, and I'd erase his and put on new levels, and then he'd play those levels. Classic gaming is a way of life. That's all I got to say. Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough for this show. I was hoping to get an interview done with one of the Rain authors. Unfortunately, that didn't come to pass since I can't seem to get the new version of Rain to run right on my system. It's probably me. I'm too stubborn to install Display Doctor. But hopefully next week we'll have an interview back for you. I'm sorry this one was a little bit late. It's just been crazy kind of... Anyway, from Retro Radio, my name is Shane Monroe, MonroeWorld.com. Thanks for stopping by and listening to me rant and rave and ramble. Until next week, keep it retro.